Hi everybody, and this is Burke Lyle. I'm on the air. Today is February 14th. It is a Friday. It is a very nice day outside as I am recording outdoors. It is about in the mid 50s, perfectly sunny for the first time in days. And today, since look, I was busy yesterday, I didn't have time to do it, but today I want to get to the reaction of the Astros press conference. And generally, Ken Rosenthal wrote another really good article on The Athletic today about the press conference, and he didn't think the Astros did very good of apologizing. Many people around national media did not think they did a very good job of apologizing, and people didn't like it. And I watched the whole video, which MLB did not have a video of it on their official YouTube channel. I think it was some local Texas station or whatever that had it. It was about, in total, the one I watched was about 25 minutes. And in those 25 minutes, so the Astros had two players speak. It was Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman, who, both of them benefited from this, obviously. When you think about the type of seasons they've put up over the last 3 years. Altuve won an MVP. Bregman almost won one, has been a finalist the last couple of years. So think about it. They have benefited from sign stealing. And what if Altuve won the MVP award without sign stealing? Who knows? But again, you could go around that argument all the time. Obviously, Altuve was great before this, and apparently the Astros have stopped. He's been great after this. How much did it really impact performance? I think it did in some ways. I mean, how many extra games did they win? Since this year they won 107 games, where the year they did sign stealing, they won 101, I think. So obviously there's something they don't need to do, and how much does it actually work? So in the video, that was about 20, again, I just said 26 minutes long. Bregman and Altuve basically came in the very beginning and they spoke, and they basically, here's what they said. So basically, they felt bad and they're ready to move on. So Bregman, yes, the Astros were trying to gain trust from MLB fans, and mentioned the team himself. He said, yes, this is our fault. And this is all paraphrasing, by the way. This is our fault. This is the team's fault. I take responsibility as well. Since, again, Bregman was benefiting from this, obviously. And then let's try to move forward. So then Altuve came and spoke, and about the same, said, yes, the Astros organization feels bad for what happened. Mentioned moving forward and trying to win the 2020 World Series. That's basically what Altuve said right there. So again, obviously, when I was on the air the other day, I was talking about how the Astros really needed to, again, it's going to take them a long time to move on from this. And those were details that came out on Wednesday. So we want to think about all the stories that have happened this offseason in baseball. I mean, I'm trying to think. So the Nationals won the World Series right around Halloween, right? And it wasn't until, and about 2 weeks later, we found out about what was first reported, all on Mike Fiers. I mean, Mike Fiers basically told the world what the Astros were doing. And then more things came out about 2 months. That was about mid-November. The MLB investigated for about 2 months. About a month ago, we found out what happened. A.J. Hinch is fired, so is Jeff Luhnow. That's what happens there. Caused, obviously, Alex Cora to be fired from Boston, and Carlos Beltran before, should be getting ready to be meeting the team really for the first time. And how well does Beltran really know the Mets players? That is hard to say now, but probably not very well. Never really got an opportunity to manage the Mets. Since again, and then we found out that Beltran, I think, yes, was the leader in all of this. I think Cora was involved too. Obviously, A.J. Hinch did not do enough to stop it. So then, that's kind of the series of events that have happened. And you go back to the press conferences, right? So again, Bregman and Altuve barely spoke. They didn't field questions since there's a lot of media people there. And I listened to the whole video. And you heard people like Ken Rosenthal. I could recognize their voice. I think I heard Joel Sherman asking questions. Since that was a big deal, and granted, I'm not going to watch the press conference live yesterday. I was too busy. I had things going on, so I watched it today. So I may be 24 hours behind in the news cycle, which is a lot in today's day and age. But with what was going on, I think Altuve and Bregman should have said a lot more. They should have taken questions, since remember, who answered the majority of the questions was Jim Crane, the owner, and as well, Dusty Baker was the manager. Dusty Baker had nothing to do with this. Dusty Baker was managing the Nationals when all this was taking place. Right? And I remember late in August, I think it was in 2017, the Nationals went to Minute Maid Park. I remember them playing there in a regular season series, interleague play. And there's a good chance that the Nationals probably were affected by it in some way or another. At least it was only 3 games. Who knows how much they're actually affected. But that's the point. So many teams were impacted by this. Sign stealing. And Carlos Correa, all paraphrasing, I think it was mentioned in the article written by Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic, mentioned, yes, we were sign stealing. We did try to do in the playoffs. I think Correa was very honest about what was going on and really just helped. I thought he did the best job of answering since of everybody else. I mean, Bregman, Altuve. So, and then, which again, it was unfair. Dusty Baker should have not had to be in there at all, since really the only reason why Dusty Baker's manager, anyways, is A.J. Hinch was fired, and Baker should have not been put on the spot there, since again, had nothing to do with it whatsoever. And again, has only been the manager of the Astros for a few weeks, and at most will probably only do it for a few years. I mean, you look at his advanced age, which that question brings up. Who will be the next manager of the Astros? That's for a whole nother day. I think it will be a very appealing job as long as they can keep winning. And with the added playoff, I think whatever they have going will extend on potentially even longer. So who knows about that? That's for a whole nother story, a whole nother day. But again, it was Jim Crane answering all the questions. Pretty much everything that happened. And with Crane answering all the questions, I mean, they asked him a lot of questions. They asked him, is your title real? Should you have won the World Series or not? And he said, yes, we did win it. Or, hey, should that title be legitimate? Why aren't the players being punished? And with Jim Crane, basically said the type of scandal will not repeat in Houston. And said, and again, blame leadership, blame the front office, blame the managers, and now the players should not be punished. And to remember, A.J. Hinch, who we've heard now repeatedly many times, tried to stop it by smashing a baseball bat twice on the minors, and apparently that did not get the message. Again, nonverbal communication. I'm surprised the players did not get the message. Should have just told them to stop right then and there. That didn't happen. I think Luno knew about it as well, and Jim Crane throughout the press conference had no idea about it. Says, I don't spend much time in the clubhouse, locker room area. I'm more upstairs, really. I don't spend time kind of on the field, okay? We understand that, but again, everybody in the Astros knew that, and going back to what Correa said, is apparently they tried to do it at some in the playoffs as well. So again, they tried to do it, but again, in the playoffs, it may be harder to execute, I think. So again, maybe they stopped doing it some in the playoffs. I don't know. It's unclear what happened in the playoffs. But either way, people from the Dodgers are upset. People from the Yankees organization are upset. Especially, I think those are the teams that are impacted the most. The Yankees twice of victims. And obviously, one thing that will never go away with Jose Altuve, that home run off Chapman. Again, people are going to always wonder, I think it will be a theory for a long time, is was there a buzzer that told him the type of pitches? I mean, I don't think so. I don't know how. For me, it's hard to imagine how it's possible. But again, the Astros, as smart as they are, they do a lot of things for fans like us that wonder, how did they do that? How did they steal these signs? Look, I'm watching a game on TV. I know 1 means fastball, 2 means curveball, right? 3 means slider, and then you can just try to guess the signs. But when there's a runner on second, I have no idea. So apparently how the Astros figured that out, I don't know. Again, it was very impressive how they managed to do that, and the operation they managed to pull off. That led to one of the biggest scandals in Major League history. So some people are upset of why the players aren't punished. Well, the question is, who is doing who? Are you going to suspend Jose Altuve? Are you going to suspend Alex Bregman? I mean, who was really doing what, right? So, how do you figure out who benefited the most? I mean, are you just going to suspend Bregman, Altuve, since they were the best players overall during that really over the last 3 years. I don't know how you punish the players, right? Since again, sure they were doing it, but I think it's the job of the front office and and managers. And when this is what Crane has said throughout the interview, is they failed to stop the scandal. He was blaming leadership all the time. Exactly. And Crane said we're going to move forward like Bregman and Altuve. Exactly. And then was asked about the Yankees, said the Astros had a good team, all paraphrasing, and did not make an impact in the series. And it's okay asking about the Dodgers, same thing. Should the World Series title be taken away? So again, they beat them in those series. Whether they were sign stealing then at the time, I don't know. But again, and it wasn't really hitting, since what that sign stealing is supposed to impact most is the hitters. I mean, how do you do that? How do you gain an edge pitching with something like that? It is all the hitters. I'm sure you maybe can guess what the hitters are. I don't know. It benefits offense more than anything. And you think about that series, right? When they played against the Dodgers, sure, they put up a lot of runs. I think they put up 8 runs and then 13 runs. The Astros did in Houston in games 3 and 5, I believe. So, sure, maybe that benefited them in some way or another, but the Dodgers scored 12, right? And at the time, I had no suspicion whatsoever. So, again, how it worked and to the extreme, I don't know. How well, some answers I don't know if we'll ever get. So, yes, I think that's why the players aren't punished, since which players do you punish? Which ones do you single out in this case? And I don't know really if you can punish anybody, or you can just suspend Evan Gattis, who clearly one time benefited from the trash can banging or whatever, who's no longer in the league, right? I mean, is that what you're going to do? So I don't know. I think it's too hard to figure out which players benefited the most and when it stopped, when it happened. But Crane said this had nothing to do with the outcome of the playoffs. And then later mentioned never impacted the games, and later said he did not mention that. Okay, so Crane obviously had to answer almost all of the questions clearly, since again, I watched the video, 26 minutes. Baker answered a few questions. Bregman and Altuve made the brief statements, and that was it. They're asking him all sorts of questions and saying, is this title legitimate? Is it not? I don't know. And basically said, oh, this is what the commissioner found. This is what the commissioner found. Basically started almost every sentence with something like that. So now, here we are today. The Astros have made their apology, whatever they did, saying, look, we made a mistake. We're trying to move forward from it. That's basically what they're saying. Understand what they did was wrong. Sure, they broke the rules. They thought they could get away with it. They did not. Since, again, former Astros players that went elsewhere said, yep, this is bad. We shouldn't have done this. Exactly. So this is what has been going on. So now, again, we talk about moving forward, right? I mean, what do the Astros have to do to win baseball back? Obviously, they have their own fans who have to deal with this, right? But, and again, and I want to say this, what if you did take away the World Series title and said, oh, we're going to give it to the Dodgers? You can't, and it's like happens in the NCAA all the time, where, oh, you took away Reggie Bush's Heisman Trophy. Well, you can't take away that season. You can't take away him getting the trophy and accepting it, or whatever. You get rid of this national championship or whatever you vacate it like the NCAA does. That's the thing. You can't take away the Astros winning the World Series, since you can't go back in time and change anything. They won the World Series. You can't take away the joy they felt that night when they won the World Series. And at the Dodgers, they didn't win the World Series. They don't want a trophy that they did not win, right? Neither do the Yankees. Are you going to give the American League pennant to them? I mean, you can't do that. You can't really take the World Series away. I mean, sure, did they win it? Was it fair of how they won it? Who knows? How much they used in the playoffs or not, sign stealing? When did this stuff stop? Obviously, it appeared that they didn't do anything last year of sign stealing. They're completely clean last year. So again, that's what's been going on. But the whole point of this is we found out really back in mid-January to make sure something like this does not happen again. Managers and general managers get fired and suspended. Right? They lose their jobs. 3 managers lose their jobs over this. Right? That's what we're trying to send the message to. The Astros lost their first-round picks. That's the message we're trying to send to. Since, again, the Braves, they had a big international free agent signing, and John Coppolella, who was formerly running them, and granted, a lot of this success the Braves have was done by him, but that's not the point. The point is you're trying to make sure something like that doesn't happen again. Like trying to break the rules in international free agent signing, trying to break the rules in electronic sign stealing. And now I think people are being monitored. And I mean, I've never been in a room like that, but if somebody tries to think, okay, what are they throwing? You know, like you're zooming in on the signs again. So people took advantage of electronics in baseball. They abused their purpose, and that's what led to this. So the question is, Astros moving forward, they won the World Series. They're completely clean, great. I think that's some redemption, but I think it'll take a long time before the Astros are really get forgiven by the rest of Major League Baseball, and by that I mean other Major League fan bases. Yankees fan bases, they have the rivalry with the Red Sox. They're gonna have a hard time trusting the Astros now. Like, they will not be liked in New York for a while. And wherever they go, they are one of the most hated teams in sports right now. The Houston Astros are, for just what they have been doing. The New England Patriots have gotten that reputation. So now the question is, can the Astros recover and potentially win the right way? I mean, the Patriots have had so many similar things, like what they were doing that was coach-driven, not player-driven. That is different, but similar in multiple ways. So now the Astros basically have to repair their reputation. How? I don't know. It's going to be hard. There's a few things I listed just a minute ago. So now the question is, we move into the season. The Astros play their games. Fans in Houston will support them. How much their attendance goes down, I don't know. But this is bad for Major League Baseball, a sport that has been on decline for some time in some ways or another. Games are as long as ever. Strikeouts at an all-time high. Attendance has been dropping for a few years. TV ratings are down. And they have something like this. So again, something like this will definitely takes a hit on Major League Baseball. And talking about other stories besides the Astros this offseason, I mean, this week, I think there was talk of MLB playoff expansion at the beginning of this week that I brought up and talked about, right? So that's something to talk about. Obviously, the CBA is expiring in 2 years, but in terms of stories that happened this offseason, like, it has been a hard time hearing stuff other than the Astros. I think we've been distracted by that. And when the season starts, I think the Astros will have a target on their back. I think they'll be talked about a lot. I think they'll be on ESPN when they're on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. It'll be interesting to see how much that scandal is brought up. And again, and if they make it to the playoffs, which I think they very likely will, how deep they go in the playoffs, I don't know. If they win the World Series, they will be talked about in some way or another for a long time. And yes, whatever was going on, what people thought was suspicious back in 2017 has caught up to the rest of us, and now everybody knows about what the Astros did. So again, they have their reputations on the line right now. So how do they move forward? We'll wait and see. You know, I'll check back. It'll be interesting to check back. Opening day, check back into the season, whenever, or a few years from now, of what their reputation is. They can change it. They can change it, but it'll take a while. Like, if you're a young Yankees fan, or any Yankees fan, how long will it take for you to get over the Astros, right? So who knows? I don't know. I've been talking about the Astros a good bit. I talked about it when it first broke. I talked about them yesterday, or 2 days ago, and today. Hopefully the next time I talk about the Astros will be other than the sign stealing stuff. Since look, baseball's back. I'm ready for spring training. I'm ready for the spring training games to start. You know, a few weeks ago, I'll walk to a baseball game this afternoon within the next hour or two. So again, it is time to move forward, and that's what the Astros are trying to do. The question is, how long does it take for the rest of MLB organizations to move forward, and the rest of the MLB fan base? That is hard to know. But again, baseball is back. I'm ready to start talking baseball over the next few weeks and really into the season. I'm looking forward to another season together, talking about the MLB. It's going to be fun again. Hope it's as good as last season. So thank you everybody for listening, and we will see you next time.